You want to know the craziest part about catching a cheater? It's not the lies. It's not even the betrayal. It's the moment you finally confront them and they look you dead in the eye and try to make you feel like you're the one who doesn't understand. My name is Tasha Williams. I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, and 6 months ago I exposed my boyfriend Marcus at his mama's Sunday dinner in front of his entire family. You might have heard about it. The story went viral on social media. People called me savage, called me petty, called me a hero. But here's what nobody talks about. Before that Sunday dinner, before I gathered all my evidence and teamed up with his side chick to bring him down, I did something that most women don't do. I let him explain himself. I listened to his side of the story. I gave him a chance to justify 8 months of lies, 8 months of living a double life, 8 months of making a fool out of me. And you know what? Even after hearing his reasons, his excuses, his twisted logic, even after understanding exactly how he saw the situation, I still destroyed him. Because understanding the villain doesn't mean you have to forgive him. This is the story of how I caught my boyfriend cheating, let him tell his side, and then made sure everyone knew the truth anyway. Because some people think that if you understand why someone hurt you, you should let it go. But I believe in something different. I believe you can understand someone completely and still make them face the consequences of their actions. So let me tell you everything, the whole truth, his side and mine, and then you can decide who was right. 2.5 years ago, I met Marcus Thompson at a Juneteenth cookout in Piedmont Park, and I thought I'd met my forever. He was everything I'd prayed for. Tall, handsome, ambitious, God-fearing. He worked in commercial real estate, had his own place in Buckhead, drove a nice car, treated his mama right. On our first date at Poor Calvin's, we talked for 4 hours about our dreams, our families, our faith. He told me he wanted to own his own firm someday. I told him about my plans to start a consulting business. We connected on everything. By month 3, I had a drawer at his place. By month 6, he had a key to my apartment. By year 1, we were talking marriage. His mama called me her future daughter-in-law. His sister Keisha became my best friend. I was planning our wedding in my head, the venue, the dress, the guest list. I trusted him completely. When he said he was working late, I believed him. When he said he had business trips, I helped him pack. When he said he loved me, I never doubted it for a second. Looking back now, I see how naive I was, how blind, how desperate to believe in the fairy tale that I ignored every single red flag. But at the time, I thought we were solid. I thought we were building something real. I thought I knew everything about this man. I was wrong about all of it. The first time I suspected something was wrong was on a random Wednesday night 3 months before everything fell apart. We were at his place. I was cooking dinner, my grandmother's smothered chicken recipe, and Marcus was in the shower. His phone kept lighting up on the kitchen counter with notifications. I wasn't trying to snoop, I really wasn't. But when a phone lights up 5 times in 2 minutes while you're standing right there, you notice. Most of the messages were normal. His boy Dre talking about the Hawks game, a work email. But then one message popped up that made my heart skip. Jazz. The preview said, "I miss you already, baby. When am I seeing you again?" No punctuation, no question mark, just a demand, a familiarity that sent ice through my veins. Who the hell was Jazz? And why was she texting my man saying she missed him? I heard the shower turn off. Marcus came out a few minutes later, smelling like soap and cologne, smiling like nothing was wrong. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, kissed my neck. "Smells amazing, baby." I should have asked him right then, but I didn't. Because a part of me didn't want to know. A part of me wanted to keep living in the bubble we'd built. So instead I said, "Your phone's been going off." He grabbed his phone and I watched his face carefully. There was a flicker, just a split second, where his jaw tightened. Then he relaxed and smiled. "Just the boys talking about the game," he said. Too smoothly. He typed something quick and put the phone in his pocket instead of leaving it on the counter like he usually did. That was the moment. The moment I knew something was off. The moment my gut started screaming at me that the man I loved was lying to my face, but I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself Marcus loved me and would never betray me like that. I was wrong. And over the next 3 months, I'd discovered just how wrong I was. After that text message, I started paying attention, really paying attention. Marcus's phone habits changed. It was always face down now, always on silent. He'd take it to the bathroom with him, check it compulsively. And when I'd ask who was texting, it was always work, always his boys, always something innocent. Then there were the business trips: Miami, Austin, Charlotte, Nashville, all supposedly for conferences and client meetings, all perfectly reasonable for someone in commercial real estate. Except I started checking. I'd look up the conferences he mentioned, search for his name on attendee lists, try to find any trace that he'd actually been there. Nothing. His name never appeared, no conference badges, no networking posts on LinkedIn, no photos with colleagues. He was lying. But about what? And with who? I hired a private investigator, a woman named Angela who specialized in infidelity cases, $1,500 for 2 weeks of surveillance. I need to know everything, I told her over coffee, where he goes, who he sees. Angela delivered. Photos of Marcus at hotels, at restaurants, with a woman I'd never seen before, light-skinned, curly hair, beautiful. They looked like a couple, comfortable, familiar, like they'd been together for months. Her name is Jasmine Rodriguez, Angela told me, sliding a folder across the table. 28 years old, pharmaceutical sales rep. They've been seeing each other for at least 6 months. 6 months, half a year. While I was planning our future, he was building a whole other life. I sat there looking at those photos, and something inside me went cold. Not sad, not hurt. Cold, calculating, strategic. Because I realized something important. I had power now. Knowledge is power. And I was about to use that power to make sure Marcus Thompson faced every consequence of his choices. But first I wanted to understand. I wanted to know why. I wanted to hear his side, his reasons, his justifications. So I did something unusual. Something most women don't do when they catch their man cheating. I asked him to explain himself, and I actually listened. 2 weeks before the Sunday dinner, I confronted Marcus. Not with anger, not with tears, with cold, calm curiosity. We were at my apartment. I'd made dinner, poured wine, set the mood like it was a normal date night. Then, halfway through the meal, I put my phone on the table between us. On the screen, a photo of him and Jasmine at a restaurant. His face went white. His fork clattered against his plate. His voice was shaking. "You tell me," I said calmly. "Because I already know. I've known for weeks. I have photos, receipts, witness statements, text message records. I know about Jasmine. I know about the hotels." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Tasha, I'm not here to yell at you," I interrupted. "I'm not here to cry or beg or ask you to choose. I'm here because I want to understand. I want to hear your side." He looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "You..." "Yes, because the Marcus I thought I knew, he wouldn't do this. So either I never knew you at all, or there's more to this story." I wasn't being kind. I want to be clear about that. This wasn't forgiveness or understanding. This was strategy, because I knew that if I gave him space to explain himself, he'd reveal exactly who he really was. He'd show me his true character, and that would make what came next so much easier. Marcus took a long drink of wine, put his head in his hands, and then he started talking. And for the next hour, I sat there and listened to the villain tell his story. This is what Marcus told me that night, word for word, as close as I can remember. And I want you to hear it the way I heard it. Because it's important to understand exactly how cheaters think, how they justify, how they convince themselves they're not the bad guy. "I met Jasmine at a networking event 8 months ago," he started, his voice quiet. "At the W Hotel in Buckhead." I nodded. I remembered. She was new to Atlanta, standing by the bar, looking lost. I walked over to introduce myself. It was supposed to be networking, professional. "But it became more," I said flatly. We started talking. She was funny, easy to talk to. She didn't know anything about me, about my life. With her, I could just be. No pressure, no expectations. I felt my jaw tighten, but I stayed quiet, let him keep talking. "Tasha, you have to understand. I love you. I really do. You're perfect. You're everything a man could want. Smart, beautiful, ambitious, loyal. My mama loves you. Keisha loves you," I asked, keeping my voice even. He looked at me and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Weakness, selfishness, fear. Because that was the problem, he said. You're too perfect. Our relationship was too perfect. Everything was planned out. You had our whole future mapped, the engagement, the wedding, the house, the kids. Jasmine didn't want anything from me. She wasn't talking about marriage. She wasn't introducing me to her family. She was just there. Easy. Fun. No pressure. I stared at him across my kitchen table, this man I'd loved for 2 years, and I realized I was looking at a stranger. I didn't mean for it to go on this long. It was supposed to be just a few weeks. A moment of weakness. But then weeks turned into months, and I was in too deep. I didn't know how to end it with her without losing her. I was weak, he said, and his voice cracked. I was selfish and weak and scared. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep both parts of my life separate. He trailed off, shaking his head. You thought you wouldn't get caught, I finished for him. Yeah, he admitted. I thought I was smarter than this. I thought I could manage it. He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. I want you, Tasha. I want our life. I want our future. Jasmine was a mistake, a distraction. She doesn't mean what you mean to me. I swear to God, baby, you're the one I love. You're the one I want to marry, please. I sat there in silence, watching him cry, watching him beg, watching him try to manipulate me one more time with tears and promises. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because I'd heard every word he said. I'd listened to his side. I'd given him space to explain himself. And all he'd done was confirm exactly what I already knew. Marcus Thompson wasn't a man who made a mistake. He was a man who made a choice. Every single day for 8 months, he chose to lie. He chose to betray me. He chose his comfort over my dignity. And now he was trying to make it seem like I was the problem. Like I'd pushed him away by loving him too much, by wanting a future with him. That's what cheaters do. They take their weakness and try to make it your fault. But I wasn't about to let him rewrite this story. I let Marcus finish crying, let him sit there thinking maybe, just maybe, his explanation had worked. That I'd understand, that I'd forgive. Then I spoke. Thank you for being honest, I said calmly. Thank you for finally telling me the truth. He looked up, hope in his eyes. So we can work through this? We can go to therapy, I'll do whatever. No, I cut him off. We're done. Tasha, please. I said no, and I need you to hear me very clearly right now, Marcus. I leaned forward, looked him directly in the eyes. You just spent an hour trying to make me feel sorry for you. Trying to make it seem like you cheated because I loved you too much. Because I wanted a future with you. That's not what I... Yes, it is. That's exactly what you did. You took 8 months of lies and tried to justify them by saying you felt pressured. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Here's what you don't understand, I continued. I didn't give you a chance to explain so I could forgive you. I gave you a chance to explain so I could see exactly how far you'd go to avoid taking responsibility. I am taking responsibility. No, you're not. Taking responsibility would sound like this. I cheated because I'm selfish. I lied because I'm a coward. That's taking responsibility. I stood up, walked to my door, opened it. You need to leave now. And Marcus? That evidence I mentioned? The photos, the receipts, the text messages? I'm keeping all of it. His face went pale. Tasha, please, my family. Your family deserves to know the truth. Your mama deserves to know that the son she raised is a liar. Your sister deserves to know her brother isn't who she thinks he is. I smiled coldly. She deserves to know you've been lying to her too, because I found her. He stood up, panic in his eyes. Tasha, I'm begging you. You had 2 years to be honest with me. You had 8 months to do the right thing. Now it's too late. I watched him leave my apartment that night, knowing that in 2 weeks, his whole world was about to crumble. And I felt no guilt, no hesitation, no second thoughts. Because I'd given him his moment. I'd listened to his side. I'd let the villain explain himself. And all he'd done was prove that he deserved everything that was coming. The next day, I reached out to Jasmine Rodriguez through Instagram. I'd been watching her account for weeks, studying her posts, learning about her life, preparing for this moment. She responded within an hour. Someone who knows he's been lying to you. He's not single, Jasmine. He has a girlfriend. Her name is Tasha. The three dots appeared and disappeared for 5 minutes. I sent her photos, screenshots of our Instagram together, pictures from his mama's house, evidence that Marcus and I were very much a couple. Then I sent her the perfume receipt. He told me this was for my birthday, but you posted about getting Chanel perfume from your man the same week. A long pause. Then, oh my God. Or, I typed, we could do something better. We could make sure he faces consequences for lying to both of us. Another pause. I told her my plan, the Sunday dinner, the confrontation, the public exposure. I don't know, she typed. He told me last night that you didn't mean anything, that you were just a distraction. I could practically feel her anger through the screen. I did have a recording. I'd secretly recorded our whole conversation on my phone, knowing I might need it later. I sent her the most damning clips. Marcus saying she didn't mean what I meant to him. Marcus calling her a mistake. Marcus begging me for another chance while dismissing their entire relationship as nothing. 20 minutes later, I'm in. 2 weeks later, I stood in Ms. Patricia's living room, surrounded by Marcus's family, friends, and coworkers, with my phone in my hand and evidence that would change everything. Marcus was looking at me confused, wondering why I'd called everyone's attention. His mama was in the kitchen putting final touches on the mac and cheese. His sister Keisha was on the couch scrolling through her phone. Everyone looked comfortable, relaxed, happy. They had no idea what was about to happen. I need to tell everyone something, I said, my voice steady and calm. About Marcus, about our relationship. Marcus stood up, walking toward me with that smile. That same smile that used to make my knees weak. The room got quiet. His boy Dre put down his beer. Keisha looked up from her phone. His mama came out of the kitchen. Come in here, Ms. Patricia, I called. She walked into the living room, wiping her hands on her apron, concern on her face. I'm going to tell you all a story, I began. A story about a man who lived a double life for 8 months. A man who looked his girlfriend in the eye every day and lied. A man who took business trips that weren't business trips. Marcus's face went pale. Tasha, don't... His name is Marcus Thompson. The room erupted. Gasps. His mama's hand flew to her mouth. That's not... Marcus started. The doorbell rang. Perfect timing. That's probably her now, I said calmly, walking to the door. I opened it to find Jasmine standing there, nervous but determined, exactly as we'd planned. Hi, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm Jasmine. The room exploded again. Marcus stood frozen, his face cycling through shock, panic, and desperation. Dre said, I'm his girlfriend too, I said, walking back into the center of the room. Jasmine walked in, standing beside me. 2 women, both betrayed, both ready to tell the truth. He told me he was single, Jasmine said, her voice shaking but strong. He said he'd been focused on his career and wasn't looking for anything serious until he met me. He took me to Miami, to nice restaurants. He bought me gifts. He told me the same things, I added. While he was with her, he was planning our future, talking about marriage, about babies, about buying a house. Ms. Patricia looked at her son with such disappointment it was devastating. He couldn't speak, just stood there, caught, exposed, with nowhere to hide. I have proof, I said, pulling out my iPad. Photos of them together, hotel receipts, text messages where he told her he loved her while telling me the same thing. Oh, I started showing the photos. The room was silent except for the clicking as I swiped through image after image. Marcus and Jasmine at restaurants, at hotels. Photos that proved beyond any doubt that he'd been living a double life. 2 weeks ago, I confronted him, I continued. I gave him a chance to explain himself. I pulled up the recording on my phone. Jasmine's eyes filled with tears, but she stood tall. He said the same things about you to me. Said you were too pushy, too perfect. He tried to make both of us think we were the problem, I said. Tried to justify his lies by blaming us for loving him, for wanting a future with him. Ms. Patricia walked up to her son, and I could see the heartbreak in her eyes. I raised you better than this, Marcus. I raised you to respect women, to be honest. She held up her hand. Don't you dare try to explain this away. You hurt 2 good women. You lied to everyone in this room. She turned to me and Jasmine. I am so sorry. Both of you. Then she looked back at Marcus. Mama, get out of my. The room was dead silent. Marcus looked around at all the faces, his family, his friends, his co-workers, and saw nothing but disappointment, disgust, and anger. He grabbed his keys and walked out. The door slammed behind him, and the sound echoed through the house like a final judgment. I stood there in that living room, with Jasmine beside me and Marcus's family surrounding us, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace, justice, closure. It's been 6 months since that Sunday dinner, and my life has never been better. Marcus moved to Charlotte shortly after, running away from the reputation he'd built in Atlanta. Word spread fast about what he'd done, through social media, through mutual friends, through the Atlanta grapevine that moves at lightning speed. Everyone knew, everyone talked. His name became synonymous with lying and cheating. His mama still calls me sometimes. Not often, but enough. She apologizes for her son, tells me she's ashamed, tells me she wishes things had been different. I tell her it's not her fault, that she raised him right. He just chose wrong. Keisha and I are still friends. She cut her brother off for months, only recently started talking to him again. But she tells me he's different now, quieter, more isolated, struggling with the consequences of his choices. Jasmine and I aren't close, but we check in occasionally. She's dating someone new, someone honest, someone who treats her right. We bonded over our shared experience, and while we'll never be best friends, there's a mutual respect there, a understanding between two women who refuse to be victims. As for me, I got that promotion I'd been working toward, launched my consulting business, traveled to places I'd been putting off, spent time with my girls, reconnected with parts of myself I'd lost while trying to be the perfect girlfriend, and I started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm not rushing. I'm taking my time, learning to trust again, setting boundaries, knowing my worth. And my answer is always the same: no, not for 1 second. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Understanding why someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to protect them from consequences. Hearing their side doesn't mean you have to accept their excuses. Giving them a chance to explain doesn't mean you owe them forgiveness. I let Marcus tell his story. I listened to his reasons, his justifications, his twisted logic. And all it did was confirm what I already knew, that he was selfish, manipulative, and unwilling to take real responsibility for his choices. So I made sure everyone else knew it too. Some people called me petty, said I should have handled it privately, said public humiliation was cruel. But I call it justice. I call it making sure that actions have consequences. I call it refusing to protect a man's reputation at the expense of the truth. Marcus had 2 years to be honest with me. He had 8 months to do the right thing. He had every opportunity to tell the truth before I found out. He chose not to. So I chose to make sure the truth came out anyway. On my terms, in my time, in a way that made it impossible for him to lie his way out of it. And I don't regret it for a second. If you're reading this and you're living a double life right now, lying to your partner, sneaking around, thinking you're too smart to get caught, let me tell you something. You're not as smart as you think. The lies you're telling, they're not as airtight as you believe. The person you're betraying, they're probably already noticing things are off, and when the truth comes out, and it will come out, you'll lose more than just your relationship. You'll lose your reputation, your self-respect, the trust of everyone who matters to you, and you'll have no one to blame but yourself. I gave Marcus a chance to explain himself. I listened to his side. I let him have his moment to be understood. And then I made sure he faced every consequence of his choices. Because that's what real accountability looks like. That's what justice looks like. That's what happens when you underestimate a woman who knows her worth. Marcus thought he could have it all. The stable girlfriend planning his future, and the exciting side chick with no expectations. He thought he could lie indefinitely. He thought he was smarter than both of us. He was wrong. And now he's alone in Charlotte, watching me thrive on Instagram, knowing that he had everything and threw it all away for nothing. That's the real revenge. Not the Sunday dinner exposure, not the public humiliation. The real revenge is that I'm happy, I'm healed, I'm living my best life. And he has to live with the knowledge that he destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him. So, to all the Marcus Thompsons out there, your time is coming. The truth always comes out, and when it does, Don't expect the women you betrayed to stay quiet about it. We're done protecting your reputations. We're done making excuses for your behavior. We're done being the ones who suffer in silence. Now it's your turn to face the music. And trust me, the song doesn't end well for you.